Need to at least the three of us come down here and stay at one of these high dollar lodges and go fly fishing for a couple days.
I would love to see Logan just ripping it.
Dude, he'd probably crush.
I have a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoy it when we do go fly fishing. So I'm not like I grew up fishing quite a good bit, but we were fishing in a pond. We were catching. We weren't really fishing. It was like like every cast.
I like
catching bass.
Catching one, yeah.
And so I really enjoyed the few times that we've gone fly fishing, maybe once or twice, and I've gone with Doug. It was absolutely outstanding and amazing. However, I don't know that if like we were gonna, I'm probably not gonna spend like $1,500 on some sort of outing to go do that. I don't, I don't.
It's like $500 for a full day, bro. Like for everybody to go together.
Yeah, that's ouch. That's probably not happening. I'm trying to buy.
It's like $150 a man.
I'm about to
okay,
do it
that's
right
different.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be like $500 for the full day.
Okay.
For all of us to go.
Okay, I thought it was like $500 a person.
And it's way different fishing than dude. I swear the fishing up here, you have to be so technical, and it is really freaking tough. In these little mountain streams, you get out to those big rivers where it's a quarter mile across the whole thing and it's moving slow. You get to actually see the fish eat it, and you're like, "Oh, set it, okay."
I believe it.
Those little streams, you're just ripping it, hoping to catch something at the other end.
That's funny. So it's
but
not just
you did catch a couple. You got fired up. That's why I was being serious, and I was like, I think you'd love it.
I would. Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was not.
Just being on the boat's nice.
Yeah. I'm full blown addicted to it. I can't stop thinking about it. So there's that. I'm gonna spend a lot of money for the rest of my life probably, because you can do this until you're 90. It's not like riding bulls where you only get a certain amount of time. Fly fishing is expensive forever, so I'm screwed.
That's the truth, dude. That's the truth. We pick expensive hobbies. Bareback riding was not much better.
No.
And archery is definitely not any better. It's the same exact thing. Where you walk into a shop and you're like, I'm not spending anything. You leave.
Yeah, it's like,
damn it, it happened again.
You justify it by like you're putting food on the table, but you're doing it by the slowest and most expensive and time consuming way possible. How can I make this as hard on myself as I possibly can? My
favorite justification is I'm going to use this for like 5 or 6 years at least. I'll get break that down over time. That's like $400 a year. I can do that, knowing damn well that in a year I'm going to see the new one and be like, "Ooh, I want that."
I need to trade up.
And then you'll have a whole collection of them.
Enjoy it while you can. My favorite hobby is raising children, and that's the most expensive one of all. So,
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at too. Is like I'm going to do this while I can afford to do this. And I don't have we got a 2-income home and 0 kids right now. We can afford to get the things that we like. And then
Dinks.
I told her, I was like, we're going to have a serious lifestyle adjustment when we have a kid. Like we were talking about the other day on the show. It's just like, I'm 33. I'm pretty well ingrained into what I'm doing, it's going to be, to change some things.
I love going to Doug's house though, because when you go to Doug's house, and he like obviously is a great cook, and it's like going to some sort of resort or lodge. It's like, what are we having tonight? Yeah. Like we're having like salmon and all these like fresh vegetables that he's like cooking up, and I'm like, this is amazing. Because at my house on a Tuesday night, we're having tuna from a can and some microwaved rice, and the kids are peanut butter and jelly. So
yeah, our staple is like taking like some chicken and some potatoes and some vegetables and putting them all into one thing and just putting it in the oven. Like you don't even do anything to
Dude,
you throw some butter and some seasoning on it, and you're like, then it's done in an hour.
That's the way to do it. We made stir fry last night with rotisserie chicken, and it was so simple. I had some rice already made up, and then Al just pulled out the like frozen steamer bag of veggies and then some corn that was frozen, and I just steamed it in a pot and then dumped it and then fried up the rice with some soy sauce and mixed it all together. And then she just had taken all the chicken off the bone and everything, and it was awesome, dude. And so we made a huge batch and super easy. So we've got like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days worth of at least one meal a day each from that.
I'm stealing that one because I love making stir fry.
I love it too.
Which is funny because Heather's the Asian one. I don't think I'm Asian, but I love making stir fry. And I usually make it way harder on myself than I have to. So I'm gonna use a rotisserie chicken next time. That's genius.
Yeah, and I love rotisserie chicken. I think it is like the premier version of chicken in my eyes, at least.
Yep.
I woke up to a 96. Go ahead.
Well, we've been dicing up chicken breasts and throwing them up like chicken nugget size and throwing them in the air fryer. And man, they're just easy and it's quick and the kids love it and it's good. And then I can throw it in a bowl with mashed up sweet potato or rice or whatever I've got, and it's simple. And that's one of the things that we like. We'll just make a big batch like you guys did with the stir fry. We'll make enough for another meal and then throw the leftovers in the fridge, and I've got lunch for today, and whatever we had for dinner last night. So makes it pretty simple and good.
Heck yeah. That's my favorite. And like, that's something that we do in general, is just having, like you said, you have your meat, you have a carb, you have veggies set aside, prepped. So it's just mixing and matching. And it may not seem like a lot or a big difference, but mixing it up from the rice to the sweet potato, even if it is chicken, for most of the meals, it makes a big difference in the ability to want to keep eating it. On that note too, though, this is something I talked with clients recently about. Food has become something that, like, and you should enjoy food, right? But in the grand spectrum of things, like when you look back at why food has been around, it's like for survival, right? We haven't always, until I'm like industrial age and all of these things came around, food did not become tasty, right? So like, people get so caught up in how their food tastes rather than what it's doing for their body, if that makes sense. I'm not saying go eat like a bunch of roots and shit, like, but eating the same things over and over is not a bad thing, and it's a great way to accomplish your goals. But you're gonna have to get out of that headspace of food being the reward, or like it has to be this tasty, super, like, overwhelming thing for you every time. And people, I hear so many clients say, I'm just so burnt out on chicken and rice and veggies. And for sure, are you eating that every meal? Well, no, I'm having that like 3 times a week. Well, that's not that much. Like, what do you want to achieve your goals? And you know what I mean? Like, where are the trade-offs here, And we always go back to that 80-20, 70-30, whatever you want to say. But like 80% of the time, we need to be eating those good things. And 20% of the time, that allows us to enjoy the things that we like and not feel bad about it and not have any really bad repercussions of doing that, right?
Yeah. I'm glad that you get that question too, because I get that almost daily. Is like, I'm eating the same 4 or 5 meals. What do you do to switch it up? I'm like, I eat the same 4 or 5 meals.
Hot sauce on it. Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what you do. That's how you get consistent at this, is you find 4 to 5 meals that you really enjoy, and then you just replicate it. It's rinse and repeat at that point. You don't have to think about it. If you want something tasty, go out to eat once a week. I mean, like, your food doesn't have to be tasty. Like, or it can be good. Like, that's I'll use one of the meal prep packets, like the Every Plate or HelloFresh. I'll do that for like 1 cycle, and then I get new recipe ideas. Or I'll go on Pinterest and get new recipe ideas. I find 4 or 5 that I like, and we just rinse and repeat, and we run that for months. And like, we don't really change it. We just eat the same foods, kind of on a cycle. And then we go out to eat once a week. I love going out to eat. Like, that's my thing. So, once a week we'll go somewhere and spend some money on something.
I would be willing to bet that 80% of the people that you see at the gym that you're like, I would like to have their physique, they have 5 meals that they cycle through, and they're eating pretty similar things 5 days, 6 days out of the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it just takes that consistency. That's how you get it done. I literally have eaten axis and fallow deer for the last like 7 meals in a row.
Yep.
And am I getting burned out on it? Maybe a little bit. Does that going to make me go not eat it? No. Like, I have goals. I want to get yoked. I want to get strong. Like, it's summertime, baby. Trying to gain some muscle. And that's how I know the best way to do it is be consistent in my eating. And that's a great source of lean protein. And I've just been hammering it. And I can already see the differences in just a week of being really consistent with it. So anyone out there that's, having trouble with being consistent in that, you just got to kind of adjust your mindset a little bit and see, where do I really want to be in 3 months? Where do I want to be in 6 months? Is it worth the sacrifice of maybe not eating super saturated fatty foods, that taste really, really good? Is that worth just kind of trading in for the healthy? Oh, what I was going to get into before I cut Logan off was your palate will change too. Like you might be really used to eating these kinds of foods that are, taste right now really, really good. The more that you start transitioning and eating those higher quality foods, those higher quality macronutrients, you will literally start rejecting those things you used to love.
And you'll crave the healthier foods.
Yes, you'll crave the healthier things. And it is wild how that happens. And I think the most evident thing we've seen so far and most recently is our challenge that just ended. We had a spring challenge we ran through our private Facebook group. If you guys are not part of the private Facebook group, I highly encourage joining it. Just Champion Living Fitness group. All you have to do is answer the question to get in the club. It's super simple. And if you don't answer it, you get rejected. It's real easy. So answer the question. And the question is, why do you want to be a part of the club? And there is free information that we are providing every week, 3 times a week. Coaches are getting on there, providing information about different topics, whether it's workouts, nutrition, mindset, doing a live Q&A where you guys get a chance to jump in and ask questions, and interact with us. We love doing it, but we ran a challenge through there, and they had a $50 entry fee, and it was $500 to the top male and female transformation challenge. And they had to go through our Champion Living Fitness app and use the workouts there. And they were able to use the fitness page, the Facebook group, as their tracking platform. And so everybody was tracking their meals every day, their wins every day, working out, checking in for workouts. And over the 8 weeks, we saw a community grow together really well. We saw people supporting each other, the likes going up, the comments going up, people cheering each other on. And at the end of this deal, and I'm going to be honest, we've been slammed. And so I have not been paying that much attention to exactly what everybody's been doing specifically. So when I got to see the results yesterday and see the actual changes, I was like, holy crap. Like not only did just 1 or 2 people see changes, every single person that stayed committed and turned in their final pictures to me. And again, we had about 20, 30 people sign up, maybe 10 turned in their final pictures. So that's also shows something about just how consistency works among populations, right? Like about, I don't know, that was 30%. That's a pretty big number to stay consistent. I would even usually would guess less would be consistent throughout the whole thing. But they saw huge changes. We had people that were kind of on that edge of like the next step of their life, whether they continue down this path they're going on, it could severely impact their longevity. And they got to turn around on this challenge, and you got to see not only their weight change, not only their muscle change, but their skin cleared up. You could see the smile on their faces was different. You could just see a more confident person within themselves. And it was so cool. And I had a couple people email me, and we have a supporter in Australia. Her name's Rin, and she has been a big fan of ours and supported us since like day one. And it was a big part of this challenge when she jumped in on it. And she didn't think it's hard to see the changes when you're looking at yourself every day. Right. And then, but the thing that she saw was she said, I didn't get to this place in overnight. It took me years to put on weight, but it also is I realized that it's going to be a journey to get it off. And I'm on the right path to get it off. I know what to do, and it set me up to continue to do this consistently. And I know just in the next 8 weeks, I'm going to be even further along and even more different, and things are going to continue to change. And she was one of those people I could just see it like in her smile, dude. It was 100% different. There was confidence there. There was light, like her skin looked different. It's incredible, man. To me, that's what it's all about, is seeing those changes and seeing people feel those changes and see that it's doable, I think they probably looked at those when they first started those workouts and everything. We're like, this is not enough. Like, this is too easy. And it's not the fact that it's too easy. It's something that you can do consistently. And that was the goal, was to show people that, hey, you do not have to go out and do these crazy things that these influencers are telling you to do. If you go back to the basics, which the basics have worked since day one. I know people hate to hear that, but the shit hasn't changed since bodybuilding came around. In the grand scheme of it, it's all the same. We're working on those fundamentals, and we're teaching people how to be consistent and learn those fundamentals and then build on them from there. And that's what this challenge really did for us. And so it was really rewarding to see just all the changes and see people come together. And that's what we built this whole community for.
Yeah, I was blown away at how many people made significant changes in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that surprised me even. And
that's not a lot of time.
No, it's not. And I, we've seen other people run, 8-week challenges, 6-week challenges. So like, that's a time frame that's kind of common for this, sort of thing. And people make changes in that time, but to like see like our people, like our group of little, our rodeo community, step out and do that and replicate success. Like the number of people that actually, had huge wins. Like I was blown away, and I'm thankful for them for teaching me that.
Yeah, no, me too. It's by far the most rewarding part of what we're doing. So like I said, if you guys are not a part of that group, go ahead and join it. It's free. All you gotta do is answer the questions, and there's
I think we're gonna have to do more challenges.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was awesome.
I think we should do an on the road challenge, like for the summer, and it'd be tough, but it'd be cool because you get to see how people are really doing it from gas station to gas station and all those things, right? I don't know, just something to think about. Let's get into compound versus isolation movements in resistance training. And this is something that we talk about a lot with our clients, and the importance of, well, both exercises are important, but really which are better for your goals and how you should be implementing them into your training to get the best results. So let's start with compound. Compound are my favorite exercises. So what do you guys, should these be the focus of your strength program, or you think isolation movement should be?
Man, it's the only thing I've been doing for I don't know how long now. It's been a while, and so to say that it should be the focus, I think is almost an understatement. Like it could vary. Like if you were going to work out and you had limited time, like compound exercises should be what you're spending your time on. Because it's going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Amen. Yeah. Most bang for your buck, 1,000%. This is, if you want to get strong, you want to put on muscle, you've got to do your compound exercises. These force you to utilize more than just one muscle group. And that's why I love them. And that's why Paul, like he just said, you get way more bang for your buck. For instance, take a deadlift. Yeah, you're using your hamstrings, but you are also using your back, your lats, your glutes, your core, your shoulders, everything to stabilize that barbell, to keep it in the bar path good going up. You're utilizing every single muscle group right there, which is why you're getting so much more bang for your buck right there. You could do a single leg curl in that, or a double leg curl, whatever you want to do, and that would be the same muscle group, but in all reality, during that machine work, we're only using the hamstrings and the glutes, right? The leg muscles. We're not getting the full use of your back, your core, your hips, your glutes, all the things.
And that's because the movement is centered around one joint. So like we're narrowing things down. So like think of a bicep curl. Your shoulder's not moving, only your elbow's moving. Your wrist isn't moving, your shoulder's not moving. It's only your elbow. So we're isolating.
What lever is that, Logan?
Ooh. The bicep curl is going to be a 3rd class lever.
Hey.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to throw some CS questions at Logan. He's getting ready for his test soon.
It's tough. Yes, continue. Sorry.
I'm totally derailed now.
Yes.
Well, and
anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's important, if maybe you haven't been in the gym and you're kind of new to resistance training, and just understanding, when we're referring to compound movements, as the guys have kind of alluded to, I mean, we're talking about full body exercises, typically speaking, with a barbell. And so the deadlift is the example that Doug used. Also, back squat, bench press, hip thrusts, those kind of things are going to be, they're using, like Paul also said, they're using multiple joints through a range of motion. And so you are, as they said, going to be getting more bang for your buck versus and a more isolated exercise like a bicep curl, which is only working the bicep.
Yeah. So like they just said, isolation exercises on the other hand we're only working that one muscle group at a time. You can think about this in lots of different exercises, but like they said, bicep curls, but lateral raises with dumbbells, frontal raises, tricep pushdowns. The list goes on, right? But unlike the compound exercises, you're only utilizing one muscle group comparatively to using your entire body for those compound exercises. Logan, what is open chain versus closed chain movements?
Yeah. those are good. So closed chain are going to be anytime really you are in contact with something solid. So for example, a squat, an air squat, or a back squat, for example, your feet are touching the ground, something solid. Also a pull-up, where the pull-up bar is stationary. And so that's what we're going to call a closed chain exercise. And then an open chain would be more like the hamstring curl that Doug was talking about in the chair. The part that's moving is not fixed, and it's just rotating around it really in one plane of motion. And those are going to be more open chain type movements. And so focusing on some of those closed chain movements is a way to develop full body strength for the reasons that you guys have already listed.
Yes, absolutely. And so when it comes to when what we're focusing on here in our programs, compound versus isolation movements, if this is for the general population and athletes too, to get stronger, your focus needs to be on those compound lifts. And we think of the isolation exercises as more as like accessory work, things that you're sprinkling in with that, right? To make maybe your imbalances stronger or just strengthen areas that you're trying to strengthen. So for instance, let's say we're doing back squat, and I know that I have some hip flexor issues. Some of my hip flexors are weak. I'm going to add in a banded psoas march or iso psoas hold, something like that, as my accessory work. And usually I'm probably going to do that before I do my compound lift because it's more of a warm-up exercise for that specific day. But there's also lots of times that you can put in isolated lifts or holds with like a not a superset, but a back and forth of I'm lacking the words, like an interval kind of.
Yeah. I'm a really good example of this in my training history, in the fact that I used to, not knowing any better, just do a lot of isolation exercises in my workouts. I never touched a barbell. Not that you have to have a barbell for a compound exercise, but I very rarely touched a barbell, if ever. And I wasn't doing a ton of compound dumbbell exercises either. It was just a lot of isolation stuff. And I know that when I took the leap, and my wife almost left me because I spent a lot of money on a power rack and a barbell to put in my garage. But that was the catalyst for a crazy transformation in my physique, just learning how to do compound lifts and increasing the weight as my form got better. I saw dramatic improvements in my physique, my performance. I was still riding bucking horses, my performance at the time, all those kind of things, by incorporating heavier compound movements as opposed to just doing a bunch of bicep curls and things like that.
We think a lot like these isolation exercises too, like kind of as like more the aesthetic type thing. Like if you're trying to achieve a certain aesthetic, you can use isolation exercises to work on trouble areas or isolate areas. But what I noticed was my physique, and maybe it's because I did so many of the isolation movements before. Once I started strictly doing compound lifts, my physique got better.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half even. Doug was like, "Man, your biceps are looking bigger," and I was like, "I have not been doing any bicep work at all. Like I've been deadlifting and squatting and doing pull-ups. Like I have not done a single isolation exercise in 6 weeks." And so like that could be a myth that obviously if you're competing to be a bodybuilder. Like there's a time and place for that, but do not miss out on the benefits of compound lifts. Like just don't mistake that.
It has to be the focus of your program. That is how you get strong. That's how you get the most bang for your buck. And not to mention, when I'm doing those compound lifts, dude, I am getting so much more response from my body, in the sense that my heart rate's jacked. It takes me a minute to get my breath back. Shit is burning. Like things are happening that I don't get out of isolation exercise. And it's because they have different places, right? But also in the same sense, like hunting wise, right? And I'm just like he's addicted to fishing. I'm just totally hooked on hunting right now. But I see all these guys and they're just cardio freaks, right? And there's a good group of people that are saying like, you need to go back squat, you need to deadlift so you can be strong. I don't do any cardio. I do tempo, squats and deadlifts. And I go out to there and I smash people up there, like with my pack on. People cannot keep up. And all they do is run all day long, but they don't move any weight. It's a way different game. Like I'm willing to bet that your cardio response increases when you have tempo and things like that into your program with these compound lifts, and you get a kind of an aerobic response. It feels like, now, does that mean you can go run a marathon? No, but I think that it translates to those kinds of exercises like rucking or packing or anything like that in a way different way than you would think. And I notice it mostly when I'm having to step up things like rocks over stumps. I'm noticing that my buddies that are with me, their legs are burning out way faster than mine. But I think it's just because in the grand scheme of things, we're doing weighted box step ups, step downs. I'm doing, back squats, box squats, single leg squats, like all these things. Well, in all reality, I'm just single leg squatting up and down the mountain the entire day. So it makes sense that it would work. So anyone that has, never thought about that, you do maybe struggle when you go hunting or something like that, squat, dude. Lift. Yeah. You're going to get a ton more for it. And like Paul was saying, I don't know either, man, but my body responds way different to compound lifts too. I get way bigger. Body wants to look a lot more full. And I love it. I love that look. It's a good feeling.
I love that you mentioned tempo, because, that's one of the things that sometimes we see. A big difference between isolation exercises and compound exercises is there is more of an opportunity to injure yourself or not use correct form, because the compound lifts can be more technical. And so I love that you use tempo and slow the movements down, and you're really able to focus on your form. Not only is it you getting the benefits in your aerobic and anaerobic energy systems there, but you're also going to be really getting the benefit of correct form, which is huge. Because when we start adding weight to a back squat, if you've never used a barbell to back squat, you're not going to be able to go very heavy for quite a while. Our body needs to learn that neural pathway. Maybe you're a bareback rider that's never done a heavy back squat. You can remember when you first started riding the spur board that it looked like a dumpster fire. Your body did not understand the neural pathway.
Wait,
that
people's
you
got
needed.
better?
Yeah. That's very true.
Mine always looked like a dumpster fire.
Mine was a dumpster fire the whole time. Theoretically, for you guys that are actual bareback riders, more than Doug and I were, you probably got better because your body learned what you were asking of it. And that's what we have to do here, is we have to learn that pathway and start moving correctly before we can add weight, which can take weeks and weeks and months to learn. So you probably won't back squat one time with just the bar and then come in the next time and throw 225 on. It's going to look absolutely horrendous, and you're not going to be getting anything out of it except for a sore back. So making sure that you slow the movements down, you're using correct form, is going to be extremely crucial when you're doing compound movements.
I'm glad that you brought up the transition into sports, because I don't think this wasn't on our points to hit today. But if you are in any sport, take the rough stock events for example, are you ever doing any isolation movements within that 8 seconds?
Ooh.
Not once. Like it's all multi-joint, full body expression at a maximum effort for the duration. And so if you're wanting to improve at your sport, I can only imagine that incorporating more compound lifts is going to be more beneficial than isolation exercises.
Absolutely, man. It, like you said earlier, the bang for your buck, that's where it's at. You've got to get those compound lifts. And what Logan was talking about, I love that, because the reason I love compound lifts is because it shows your imbalances as a whole in your body. What I mean by that is, Logan said, you're not going to walk in one day and do the barbell and then be able to walk in and do 225. What's going to happen is, biggest limiting factor usually in a back squat is your actual upper back strength and your entire posterior chain, not your legs. Your legs can usually lift it all day. What happens is you put it on your back and it feels heavy as and you are doing the stripper butt, where you go down and you go up and your ass fires up and then your chest slowly rises to the top, right? And we see that on deadlift too. But those compound lifts will let you know immediately, hey, you need to continue to work on another part of the system before this whole thing is going to go correctly. And if you can be patient and learn the discipline that it takes to do that with compound lifts, you can do that with rodeo and anything else in life. And that's what one of the biggest things I took away from CrossFit when I was competing in CrossFit was everything was a puzzle. And the puzzle was just doing what you're supposed to do till the very end, even though there's going to come a point where you're like, I should abort this. This is not good, but you just got to stay hooked and keep going. And on like, me and Paul were talking about Olympic weightlifting, and he was sending pictures or videos of his cleans the other day. And I could see it, because you get to this point and you need to continue to stay over the bar till you get to your hip. But when you get to that mid thigh, every bit of you is like, no, bring your chest up, drive your hips through, like, do this. And you're like, no, like, don't do that. And I remember Matt being my coach,
fixed it after,
dude. And he's like, no, like, you stay over until it feels so wrong that you have no other option. But okay, now I have no other option but to go up. Yeah. But you keep driving those legs to the ground and keep staying over that bar. And when it happens and you hit it, it's like effortless. And you're like, holy, what? It's insane. And like, the biggest thing is when you're lifting heavyweight, that applies even more, because it's going to feel like really heavy. Obviously, it's going to be slow. And you just have to realize, if I just stay hooked and do what I'm trained to do, even though my body's telling me to do something else, I'm going to be successful. And that's the same thing in bareback riding. I was talking about, who was I talking about? I think it was a bronc rider the other day, but he's like, oh, I was a bull rider, and he's talking about visualization. And he said, I can ride a bull to 6 seconds all day long, but I can't get to that 8, because he's never really been there before, right? And so when he's visualizing, same thing. It's going blank at 6. It's getting hard to stay there. And I'm like, that's because you've never been there. But the things that you have to do to get there are no different than what you did for the first 6. All that's happening is you're hitting a brain block, and you have to continue to tell your body to do what you're doing, even though it's going to want to stop. And so I told him, in your visualization, you get into 6 seconds, let's make it to 6.5 this time. And hopefully we can get to 7. But all you have to do is visualize making that next step around, making your, keep lifting on your bull rope, keep moving your feet, whatever, tracking your bull, whatever it is. Look at me. I kind of know what I'm talking about, Paul.
Sounds great, man. Keep it up.
But, it's just, you have to, it's uncomfortable when you haven't been there before. But that's what's holding you back, is you haven't been there. And all you have to do is continue to say, no, keep doing what we're doing. Keep doing what we're doing. And all of a sudden we're there. And I remember the first time that happened with me on a bareback horse, I would spur him good for about 6. And then I would stop lifting it and get yanked on, and I would finish them shitty. I remember that the first time it clicked, and I was like, no. And every bit of my body was like, nope, let's stop lifting. Let's give him the chin and just, kind of hang on here for 2. And I remember like deliberately, like, no, like, I'm not doing it. And I finished him, and I was like, that's how it's, oh, that's it. Like, that's how it's supposed to be done.
Absolutely.
But and that was after CrossFit though. I had learned so much from lifting weights at that point that it just taught me that much more about life, which is something I love about fitness as well, is that it really does translate to everything.
Yes, it directly translates. And that's the last thing that I really had to say about it, is that we do teach, when you're teaching somebody to ride the spurboard, or I am, or Paul's probably working with somebody on a stationary barrel or a drop barrel. If you cannot do it correct on the spurboard, we're not ready for the bucking machine. If you can't do it correct on the bucking machine, we're not ready for a practice horse. And so it's the exact same thing with compound lifts. If you can't do it correctly with just the bar, you're not ready for 135. If you can't do it correctly with just you're definitely not ready for 225. Let's start and make sure that we're moving correctly with the very simple parts, and then we can progress forward.
Absolutely, man. And so I think that's a great point to bring up. We're saying that compound lifts are extremely important in your training. You need to do them. But as a beginner, I think the rap that compound lifts get is, oh, I'm going to hurt myself. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, if we put a little study in or hire a coach, you'll have good instruction. Add some tempo into it. So you slow down and purposefully are having to move very, very well and focus on quality reps. And then we'll progressively overload from there. We will add little bits of weight weekly until we can perfectly move it. And once we can perfectly move it for those reps, we will add a little more until we can, again, perfectly move it. And we'll continue to go from there. And you will progressively start to get stronger, see changes in your body. It's badass. It's one of the most rewarding things in the world to see. And the biggest thing that we can always say is you've got to be consistent and you've got to be dedicated to it, or you won't see the results you want. And again, that's dependent on your goals as an individual. If you have goals to be a professional athlete, you probably need to be working out and putting more time into this than someone that wants to be a badass at regular day life and chase the kids around the yard without getting winded. Just depends on what you got going on. But hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Obviously, both are important compound and isolation exercises. But like we said, focus on those compounds, sprinkle in with some isolations, especially on those weak areas, but wouldn't be bad to do a little isolation of everything, right? Paul, why don't you wrap us up with some Beastmaster talk?
Yeah, man. Speaking of dedication, if you are dedicated to your craft, you want the best tools in the business, and I don't think anybody's got anything better than Beastmaster. I've been wearing my cowboy boots that I got from them like every single day, even if I'm just strolling around the house in sweatpants. Like I'm still slipping them cowboy boots on because they're that comfortable. So if you guys need a new bull rope, you need accessories for your bronc saddle, you need flank ropes if you're a bull man, like they've got it all, calf roping, team roping, all the practice equipment. Check out their website. It's probably the most user-friendly website I've ever seen from a rodeo equipment company, and they definitely pride themselves on that, along with their customer service. So our discount code is Champion Living. Yep. All one word, caps lock. And it definitely saves you some money, especially if you're going to buy some new boots. So,
yep, new boots. They just came out with some new stirrups I saw for saddle bronc riders, which is on Instagram. He's got a full breakdown of it. They look sweet in his breakdown of them. It makes so much sense to me. I'm not a bronc rider, but if I was, I would be buying them.
That's what I love about Nick is that I get texts on the weekly. Hey man, can you measure your shanks for me? Hey, your neck roll. Can you take it? Can you send me some pictures? Because he wants to do actual research on what actual contestants are using. Not like, hey, this is what they should have. No, what do they want? What do the contestants want? What do they need? He's doing research and trying to put out new products that are actually going to be useful for professional rodeo athletes, not just doing the same thing that we've always done because it's what other companies have done or what we've done in the past.
Yeah. Right. No, it's awesome. Check them out, beastmasterrodeo.com. They are outstanding. Nick, like a stand-up dude. We're big fans over here at Champion Living. So check them out and use our discount code, Champion Living, all one word, caps locked. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later.